This is Hero of Sparta. He is now 19 and has been away from home for 3 years now, and in that time he has conquered a city for each year he has been gone. He has now faced the Macedonians in battle, and was not impressed. He intends to show these false Greeks the true heirs of Alexander. Once more continuing on from the turn we left off on, we quickly examine the Macedonian family member that escaped to their waiting admiral and find that his army is just made of horses, which immediately makes him of no concern to Hero, as horses are notoriously bad at using siege towers. Hero's next target will be Larissa to the north, and in the coming years he will continue north, hitting each Macedonian city until none remain, before returning south to take care of the rebel settlements on the coast, ready for the Roman invasion. With everything addressed, we can proceed to the next turn. A new Brutii bireme and a Julii fleet carrying an unknown occupant grace our seas, clearly something to keep an eye on. Finances continue tumbling down, despite how close it looked as if soon all would be right. The fleets are moved to intercept and ultimately keep an eye on the enemy.
Ready! Set sail! Set sail!
Hero, now filled with energy, continues his march and besieges Larissa, building his customary 3 pieces of siege equipment. While ordering his troops to build the rams, Hero notices some heraldry flying above the edge of the wall. The faction Heir has chosen a bad time to visit the large town.
Yes, master.
Far to the north, our diplomat has finally made contact with a fellow agent. Greeting the Scythian diplomat with as much grace as he could muster together, he secures trade rights, but fails to negotiate map information from the superior diplomat. No matter, Euclides finds a Dacian town and works his charm there, securing both trade rights and map information. Back in Greece, Teleos finishes his journey to Athens, with his peasant companions following shortly behind. And once more the turn ends.
Our ships are under attack!
One of our diversion fleets gets attacked by pirates, and is defeated by the 300 pirate ships. The same pirates try their luck against Polydoros, and their luck quickly runs dry.
We are victorious!
The Julii holiday cruise has gotten closer, the occupant still unknown, and at the age of 20, Hero becomes a father, as Xanthippus of Sparta is born.
Ready!
The Macedonian family member, Alois, returns from his coastal cruise with mercenaries joining his party. Our weakened ships merged back with Polydoros, and now it was time for the siege of Larissa to begin. Gyras, despite being a rather handsome fellow if Hero did say so himself, didn't have any traits or retinue that did him any favours or detracted. Hero, however, perhaps in the light of having newly become a father, is now fruitful, and while it may not help his soldiers in battle, Hero is happy to tell the world that, even out of battle, he is victorious. Larissa shares the same layout as Corinth, though with much lower walls, and the approach to this battle will have a very similar formation. The bulk of the army will stay to the east of the city, and the besieging force will enter from the south. 2 units of Spartans and Cretans make up the assaulting force, with the rest of the Cretans being lined up ready to advance. With the southern team facing the right direction, the battle can begin. The Macedonians appear to be evenly split between the two forces. with a majority of the militia hoplites focused to the east. The eastern Cretans move forward and slice through the hoplites and light lancers guarding the gates. The Spartans are quick to make it through the eastern gate and enter the city.
Our soldiers have captured the walls. Now is the time to press on and capture this place.
The southern Spartans not far behind.
Our soldiers are at the gates. Now they must batter a way through.
After much slow and steady fighting through the streets, the two teams of Spartans and their Cretan archers corner Gyrus, the faction heir, on the plaza. With a careful shot, the archers are able to draw the general off of the plaza, making it easy for the other team of archers to whittle away at the remaining units of militia hoplites. Soon, all that was left was Gyrus. The Spartans, perhaps feeling cocky, decided to face their foe sideways, and Gyrus, sensing his opportunity, charged into the bumbling Spartans, taking out a fair few before throwing away his life.
General is dead! His men know their doom approaches!
Hero of Sparta! Ready!
Gods be praised! This victory surely their work, not that of mortals like us!
The Macedonians had managed to kill 6 of Hero's troops, however, the numbers did not add up. 25 of his Spartans had been seriously injured or killed, and while his medical team were able to heal 11, there was still the fact that 8 of his Spartans were dead on the ground, with what appeared to be arrows sticking out of the back of their robes. Perhaps it was time to have a talk with his archers about the meaning of friendly fire.
Glorious victory! This land is ours!
The population of Larissa is exterminated, and Hero becomes a famous victor, a butcher, and bloody, finally gaining him some bonus morale with his troops. And now it was time to be rid of Aloes once and for all, and this time he can't escape to his cruise ship. The Macedonians did not seem capable of producing competent generals. While Aloes may have had an understanding of logistics, the whole world was able to see that the man was barren, a startling contrast to Hero. With most of the army tucked away, the Cretans make quick work of the Macedonian army that appears to accept their fate as pincushions and embrace their deaths.
Enemy army is in flight! This is a victory fit.
A victory that was perhaps a bit too easy. Hero returns to Larissa to wait for the approaching peasants. The turn ends and the beginning of 265 BC greets us with more ships on our shores. The Julii cruise ship continues on its way and the Macedonians are beginning to sightsee as well. Over in Italy, the Brutii have loaded up their byreme, however, Polydoros was not going to allow that.
Set sail!
Splitting his fleet once more, he engages the Roman ship.
To engage!
Sending them closer to Greece.
The sea is ours!
The secondary fleet quickly chases after the swiftly disappearing ships. and only just miss the Brutii when they catch up.
Ramming speed!
With the ships in sight though, another Greek fleet is able to send the Brutii fleeing back towards Italy.
Attack! Victory! Set sail! No more moves, sir! Ready to sail! Ships ready! Ships ready! Yes, steady course!
Once more our finances have a bit more red than what is desired, however with the addition of the pillaging of Larissa, we've actually made money this turn. All we need to do now is generate just under 2,000 extra denarii, and then maybe that minus sign will eventually disappear. Teleios continues his education in Athens, but more importantly, Hero continues north to Thessalonica, with peasants from Athens filling in the empty Larissa.
Yes, Strategos!
Hero doesn't quite make it to the city this turn, besides everyone knows that a summer siege is way better than a winter one. Unsurprisingly, the Macedonians have started to send their agents to infiltrate and sway the newly captured cities. Hero finally makes it to Thessalonica after spending 6 months looming at their walls, building his 3 rams. Thessalonica, being that it was the Macedonian capital, unsurprisingly hosted the leader of said faction, and some other family member. Hero did not know much about Antagonos, other than that he was a somewhat decent commander. No matter, he would fall like the rest. Finances are once again not great, but steadily creeping up. No doubt with the capture of Thessalonica, the Greeks would finally see money returning to their coffers. A daughter is born and Teleios continues to benefit from education. Polydoros is finally able to sink the Brutii bi-ream and moves back south to keep an eye out for any more ships. While waiting for his siege equipment to be built, the Macedonians attack the Greek fleets. Despite having a strength ratio of 2 to 3, Admiral Dioscorus suffers a crushing defeat from which no man returns. The Macedonians, no doubt cocky from their victory, tried to take on Polydoros, but fail. The Julii cruise has finally disembarked. Teleios craned his neck over the Athenian walls to find a unit of Astartes sunbathing on the beaches. They wouldn't be able to breach the walls, so he let them be. Finances are steadily getting better, and Hero becomes the father to a second son, Dimas. There was no time to celebrate though, there is a city to capture. Much like the rest of the Macedonian generals that Hero had encountered so far, Antigonus was no one special. While he may have had a decent grasp on the ability to command, he had nothing to inspire his men. Ebrios was much the same, if not more useless. Now Hero, on the other hand, he has a morale thing now. Being that there wasn't a huge force occupying the city, a singular ram was used. The Cretans lined up behind, softening up the opponents while the ram approached. Soon bodies pile up in the streets and the ram breaches the gates.
The enemy gate is down! Our battering ram has done its work!
Perhaps not truly seeing the severity of this battle, some of the general's bodyguards spent some time horsing around. Entering the city, the Macedonians send their light cavalry to repel the spearmen. It does not end well for the cavalry. They try again with heavy cavalry, faring a bit better. However, Antigonus throws away his life on the end of a spear.
Make his followers waver.
Another crawl through the city, defeating the remaining infantry, ends at the plaza once more. Ebrios is lured away from safety by the Cretan archers. And the newly crowned faction heir follows the actions of his leader and catapults himself into a line of Spartans. Now, all that remained was a final unit of hoplites, and the city would be heroes. The Cretans drew the hoplites from the plaza into a ready and prepared hoplites. who slowly whistled the opposing unit down to the final man as the Macedonians futilely fight for the protection of their capital city, but it would not be enough.
Gods be praised! This victory is surely their work, not that of mortals like us.
Hero loses 4 men, 3 to the Macedonians and 1 Cretan archer to another case of fire that was perhaps a bit too friendly.
Glorious victory!
The population of Thessalonica is exterminated, following the same deal as always. And a look at the finances tab shows that, at last, we are finally making money. Taking away the amount we gained from plundering, we've got a solid positive 1,000 denarii each turn. Now we just need to get back to the positive. Unfortunately for Hero, the boasting about his positive morale bonus went too much to his head, and his bloody trait turned perhaps a bit too bloody, and is now achieving the opposite and is beginning to cause concern for his troops. Much to the north, our diplomat has been exploring the wilds for these past few years, and finally finds a road. Roads are a good sign, and perhaps they'll lead to a new civilization nearby.